Happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there who is celebrating, and to everyone else, happy Thursday. Today is going to be my favorite lipsticks. Somebody actually asked for this and said, is there any chance you're going to have this up before Black Friday? And I had another thing planned, but this works just as well. So when I was trying to pick my favorite lipsticks, I had a really hard time because I have hundreds of, literally hundreds of lipsticks. And there are so many that are good, and there are so many that actually are great. And it depends on whether you like mattes, or you like gloss, or you like satins. So it's really hard. And then, of course, there's all different shades. So what I did, I boiled it down to the 10 lipsticks that I find myself reaching for over and over and over again, regardless of shade, in different formulas. That's the best way for me to do it. So, I'm not going to say that there's no other lipsticks that I like, or there's no other lipsticks that are good, but this was my top 10. As close as I could get. There are two that are very new to me, but I absolutely love them. So I'm going to mention them alongside like something that's a tried and true favorite. So hopefully that makes sense. So before I get into it, just really quickly, I am wearing the Sarina headband. This is in blue. I haven't been able to find the blue shade this year, guys. I've seen the gold, I've seen the white, I've seen the black, and I've seen there's one pink, I think, but the blue one I haven't seen. If I see it, I will let you know. I think it was a seasonal color. They used to have gray in tint. These are Ana Luisa earrings. Sale is going on right now. Take advantage of it. And this is an Ofcio scarf. This is in, I think, deep blue. I'll make sure the right shade is down below. Ofcio is one of my favorite cashmere scarves. I have them in 5 shades now. I absolutely love them. Absolutely beautiful. Just like the perfect gift, and perfect for yourself, and perfect on a plane. And so I just wanted to mention that before I get questions. All right, so let's start with the lipsticks. Yes, I'm going to try every single one on for you, and I'm going to go through them. They are in no particular order. First is Dries Van Noten. Dries Van Noten makes satin, mattes, and sheer lipsticks. I do not have any matte lipsticks by Dries Van Noten. No, that's correct. I have satins and I have sheers. So this one is a sheer. The sheers and the satins offer a tremendous amount of pigment. Regardless of whether you do the satins or the sheers, I will tell you, they are both very creamy. They glide on beautifully. They have a range of colors. There's also a balm. Sorry, there's also a balm besides the satin, matte, and sheers. They are one of the best lipsticks that I've ever used in both formulas. The issue is, at least for me in Boston, maybe where you are, you're able to see these. I have never seen these in an actual store, so a retail location. You can't see the shades. Like, they're only online. And in my opinion, online, it's not really easy to see what the shades actually look like. I mean, I think it's tricky, to be honest with you. I think it's difficult to tell. They come in refillable bullets, and the packaging is very Dries Van Noten. They come in all different types of basically mismatched, tops and bottoms. And they come out with seasonal different color stories. So the case and the lipstick together is $78. So if you get the case and then the lipstick, it's $78. If you just get the case, it's $38 and the lipstick is $40. So it's $78 for both, which is not a bad price considering, the fact that it's a refillable. You only have to get the case once. You can get the refills for $40. But it's still, it's an expensive product. So this is a sheer. This is sheer 05, graphic ochre. It's one of my favorite shades from Dries Van Noten. It does have a scent. I think it's rose. Yeah, I think it's rose. So there's definitely a fragrance here. This is a sheer. So even the sheer is incredibly pigmented. These aren't particularly glossy. I'm going to get to the glossy ones in a minute, but this is a sheer satiny lipstick. It has the most pigment of any sheer I've ever tried. Okay, now we're going to go to like a glossy, balmy kind of lipstick. And there are so many different ones that I love, and I have a ton of them. And there's basically 2 that I'm going to talk about today. Well, actually 3. There's like 3 that I'm going to talk about today. They're all very glossy. It was really hard for me to pick one that would be my favorite in this category My favorite of all time is Chanel's Rouge Flash in Boy. I do not have it with me right now. I've actually used it up so many times that I need to buy it again. So it tells you how much I like it. But I don't have it at the moment. So I was like, okay, what would be second to that, or almost identical? And what that is, and it's hard to get, is Suqqu. Suqqu, these are the Glaze lipsticks. They are very similar to a Rouge Coco Flash. They have pigment, but they're glossy. They look a lot deeper in the tube than they are. These are, again, refillable. You can just buy the refills. This is shade 07. The thing about the Suqqus, similar to the Dries Van Noten, at least here in the United States, they're very hard to find in store. It's difficult to know your shades, that kind of thing. But the Suqqus are absolutely phenomenally good. The Glaze lipsticks are some of my favorite products from Suqqu ever since their blushes that they got rid of. I forget the name of the blushes, but they were phenomenal, and then they had to discontinue them because they couldn't source the product anymore. But these are incredibly glossy, very much like the Rouge Coco Flash from Chanel, and a less expensive price point. See how glossy they are? And again, much less deep than it is in the Bullet. The shades are all easy to wear. They have warm shades, cool shades. Nothing is too pigmented though. So, you know, if you're looking at a shade and you look at it online and you think, oh, it's going to definitely be too deep, I wouldn't really worry about that because, like I said, they run much lighter than they actually are because they're a glossy, they call it a lipstick, but to me, it's almost like a glossy balm. Now, in that vein, the glossy lips, the glossy balms, this is the Chantecaille. This is a lip veil, and they have lip cheeks and lip veil. The lip veils have a little less pigment than the lip cheeks by Chantecaille, I have found. But to be honest, some of them do have as much pigment as the lip cheeks. It depends on the shade. So this one is Tamarind. This is one of my favorite shades that I've ever had from Chantecaille. Right now, as I'm filming this, Chantecaille is having a sale, and there is 30% off loyal members and 25% off with my code Jennifer25. I don't know when you're watching this video, but the day it goes up, it will still be on sale. I don't think this shade exists anymore, but if you're looking for a really good brown, cool brown shade, Tambati is excellent. Elderberry is nice if you're looking for more of a purple. And Honey Pot and what was the other one? Baobab are two of my favorites. I wear them all the time. You can see it's just a glossy, very similar to the Suqqu actually. It's just not as glossy, but a very similar finish. It's very moisturizing on your lips. It's, you know, very comfortable. It feels really good. These are $54 regularly, I think. Let me just make sure. Yeah, I think they're $54, which is, depending on how you get the Suqqu, because if you get it overseas, it's actually a little bit cheaper. So I think that one's more in like the 40 range, but definitely cheaper than the Dries Van Noten if you're buying the case and the lipstick. But again, these are excellent sheer glossy balms. To give you a comparison, the Rouge Coco Flash in Boy is $48. So now I'm going to move to a product that has excellent sheer lipsticks, and I was going to pick one of their sheer lipsticks, shiny sheer lipsticks, but I picked one of their satins because this is my favorite color that they've ever done. This is Hermes. Hermes has really good satin glossy lipsticks, in my opinion. However, Hermes lipsticks are very expensive. They are around $80, but sometimes it does depend because they come out with like new cases, and so the cases will make they're limited edition cases, so it'll make the lipstick more money. But these are fillable again, so you can get the case separately, and then you can get the lipstick refill, which does make it a little bit cheaper if you're just buying the lipstick refill, but you get the point. I like their matte lipsticks, but they're not my favorite matte lipstick. I'll talk about my favorite mattes in a minute. Again, I really like the glossy, shiny ones, but they're not my favorite glossy, shiny ones. That would be Chanel Flash, Suqqu Glaze, and Chantecaille Lip Veils. So I decided I would do this satin. This shade is, and I'm going to try my best here, Beige d'Automne. And I really love this shade by Hermes. Hermes has started to come out with more brown shades, which makes me very, very happy. Now, why do I pick this satin over some other satins, for example? Especially given its price. So it's a lighter satin. It's not a heavy lipstick. I have very dry lips, and there are a number of lipsticks out there that I will not mention today, like Lisa Eldridge Velvet lipsticks, which are some of the best lipsticks, frankly, in my opinion, on the market. However, if I am just giving you my top 10 things that I really wear all the time, I had to be honest with you all and myself that I don't wear those lipsticks as often because they're heavy. And I don't mean heavy like in a bad way. They're just a velvet. Just think of the name. Think of a piece of velvet versus a piece of silk, right? Velvet is heavier. And I don't wear really opaque, heavy lipsticks very often. It's one of the reasons I never wore mattes. Mattes have changed over the years, but you know, you get my point. And although I love Lisa Eldridge Velvet lipsticks, and I think they are phenomenal, if you're looking for a velvet lipstick, that's exactly what I would choose. But it's not my top 10 because I just don't wear them that often. One last glossy lip. So these are the Dior Addicts, and I have 30 of them. I have a lot. They come in so many different shades. This is Patchwork, which is one of my, I tend to go brown. I like brownish pink lipsticks. And the thing about the Addict lipsticks is they're just really easy to use. They're glossy. Some have more pigment than others. Some have more shimmer than others. You can look at the Dior site. They also have them. Other retailers have them. There's sales going on right now. But if you're looking for like a lipstick that works for most people, the Addict is kind of the one in the middle. It's not too satiny. It's not too sheer most of the time. Like I said, there are some shades that are sheer. There are some ones that are more sparkly. I do have a video that I filmed a long time ago that has like, I don't know, 20 of my Addict shades on my lips. And you can find that video, and many people do because it's gotten a lot of views, of all the shades that I've tried. Now, it's not all the shades that I have now. I'm probably gonna have to update that video at some time, but I have to say that one was hard to do because your lips get tired. But it's just, it's a really good formula. It works, like I said, for most people, and there's so many shades. You'll find one you like if you just look at them. The other thing I would say about the Addict lipsticks is they come out with these limited edition cases, and so you can put any refillable lipstick into the case, which, is a brilliant move on Dior because you end up spending, or at least I end up spending a lot of money on the cases, on the limited edition cases. But you can see what I mean. This is Patchwork, right? In the lipstick tube, it looks so much deeper than it does on the lips. Now, my lips aren't particularly pigmented, so you can usually see what a shade looks like because it's almost like putting it on paper. But it's sheer. It has a sheer glossy look to it. Again, very similar to the Chantecaille Lip Veil, very similar to the Suqqu Glaze, very similar to the Chanel. The reason I put the Chanel first with those is I think I would say that the Chanel Boy is one of those shades. It's a pinky, it has a little bit of shimmer, a little bit of brown. If you don't own a Rouge Coco Flash in Boy, and you are, I would say, a medium skin tone or lighter, I would pick it up. Well, it actually works on deep skin tones too. It's just a different look. It's just it's one of those shades, kind of like, what's the shade by Charlotte Tilbury? Pillow Talk. It's one of those shades. Like, it's just, I would never call anything universal, but it really works on a lot of people. It's an everyday light shade. It doesn't have a ton of pigment, but it just works for some reason. I don't know what the different pigments in there that make up the shade, but it just works for a lot of people. And it really goes on beautifully. It's very moisturizing and it just stays on. Suqqu is second because Suqqu is the most moisturizing and long wearing glossy lip that I have. It's excellent. Chantecaille because, again, it's really moisturizing. I find the gloss, the lip veils and the lip cheeks have a really nice gloss to them. The Addicts, because there are so many shades and different options for you, and they have the cool cases. So that's why I rank them like I do. The Hermes, I would say, the sheer Hermes, I would say, is in a tie with the Addict lips. The satin Hermes is a really, it's like I said, these aren't in any particular order, but I'd say the Hermes is satin is more glossy and a little bit more sheer than some of the other ones I'm going to talk about. So that's why I kept it in that kind of grouping. All right, next is another satiny lipstick that, again, is refillable. Comes in leather cases that come in limited edition shades from time to time. And this is La Bouche Rouge. This is my favorite product from La Bouche Rouge. I really like their lipsticks, and I always have. I think they're excellent. They are clean beauty. The lipsticks do have less of a shelf life. At least I've noticed they have a less of a shelf life. And some of my other lipsticks, that could be maybe I'm not keeping them the way I should keep them. I don't know. But I do notice that they go bad a little faster. The lipstick is $45. The case is $80. So this is definitely a more expensive item, but the cases, again, are leather remnants, so they're full leather. You can get a vegan one, and they come in multiple shades, and then they have limited edition ones as well. The formulas, they do have different formulas. They have cream, they have, satin, they have mattes, and they also have a balm type of formula. The satins are beautiful and very smooth, and they don't really bleed. You have very little bleeding with the La Bouche Rouge. Problem with La Bouche Rouge is, again, you cannot see them in person, or at least I can't. I've never been to a place where I've been able to see them in person. So it's difficult to tell what the shade is that you're buying. This is a shade called Unconditional. These are some of my favorite shades, guys, but I'm making these for formula and shades, but there are multiple shades that are beautiful. Chestnut is also a great shade. I like Unconditional, the shade, because it has a little bit of peach to it, a little bit of almost coral to it, so it brightens up my face a little bit. Even though I like a brown lipstick, even though I like a pinky brown lipstick, it can sometimes make me look a little paler than I am. I do not have any makeup on my eyes today. I do have a little bit of blush on, but that's it. So, this formula, like I said, it's a clean formula. It's beautiful. It's very expensive because of the case. It's hard to find in stores. But if you're looking for a really beautiful satin that has, a case that you can keep forever or give as a gift, it's a beautiful gift. The satins are, again, a little bit more glossy. They're not particularly opaque, but they don't run. I haven't gotten to the opaque products yet. I'm getting there. But, you're going to find that it's very comfortable on the lips and extremely easy to wear. It's just a little bit more difficult to pick up, and it's a little bit more expensive. Okay, next is a lipstick that no one ever talks about, which I find not surprising, I guess, just it's interesting because it's actually one of my favorites. So this is the Bond No. 9 lipstick. Bond No. 9, most of you probably know of them for perfume, but they do make lipsticks, or at least they did. They are harder to find, and they are very expensive. Their refills are $45. If you get the lipstick with the case, it's $105, or is it $130? I think it might be $130. They do have these crystal cases, which I keep saying I'm going to get one for myself, and I never do, because they're $400. But basically, it's Bond No. 9 in the bottle that looks like the bottle that, the perfumes come in. And then the subway token, because of course this is from New York. And it pulls out like this. It's like a suction almost, and then it's magnetic closure. I love the closure on this thing, I have to admit. It's just cool. Anyway, this is shade Highline, and this is like one of my favorite lipsticks of all time. It is a creamy, super opaque, goes on effortlessly, doesn't bleed. I love this formula. The reason I don't talk about it, I guess, most of the time is because it's really hard to find. I found it at Saks. It's obviously on Bond No. 9's website. I have Hudson Yard, Madison Square Park, Highline, Greenwich Village, Gramercy Park, and another shade. I forget. They have mostly reds, and then they have a couple of like these pinky brown shades that I absolutely love. And I love the case. I think the case is absolutely awesome, and I love using it and carrying it around. Yes, it's a little big, but I don't know, it's just kind of fun. The formula in here, like I said, it's really creamy, it doesn't bleed, it's really, really good. And years ago when I bought this, I used this all the time because you can see how much of it I've actually used. So it's all the way up. So this is a shade and a formula that I absolutely loved. And honestly, before I started my channel, I would probably use that every single day. Over the last 4 years, I have found other lipsticks that I like as much. That is why I just generally don't reach for it as often, because it's so expensive that replacing it, even for the lipstick refill, is $45. You know, that's just the lipstick refill. That's not the case. So, you know, I wear so many other lipsticks nowadays, and the Chanel lipsticks and the Tom Ford lipsticks and the list goes on, the Dior lipsticks, that I just don't feel the need to go out and buy more. But I have to say, the formula is excellent. They did a fantastic job. I wish they had continued to branch out and offer more shades, but somewhere along the way, Bond No. 9 just sort of stopped advertising it. So although it's one of my favorites and I still wear the lipsticks, it's not something that I generally am going to recommend to you all because it's very expensive and hard to find. I have 3 left, and I would have to say the last 2 are my favorite favorites. I mean, I told you they're not in any particular order, but in a way they are, because the last 2 are my favorite favorites. But this one is not my favorite favorite, but it is a matte lipstick. And it's the only matte lipstick that I wear regularly. It's the only matte lipstick that I can say is one of my top 10. Like, I, on a daily basis, would consider reaching for this. And that is the Prada. This is the Prada Soft Balm. There's also the Hyper Matte that comes, it's got more coverage. I tend to use the soft just because, I mean, the Hyper Matte, not the Hyper Balm, the Hyper Matte, because again, I just don't wear matte lipstick very often. Even when my lips feel pretty good, I'm just like, why would I reach for a matte? But the Prada Soft Matte is just your lips, but better. I feel like the new Lisa Eldridge lipstick is similar to that. It has sort of a balmy, lip blushy kind of feel to it. I haven't decided yet where I would put that one, and it's not something I use every day because I just bought it. So I don't feel like comfortable talking about that in this ranking. But I would say that I do really like it, but it does have that lip blush, soft matte kind of feel, and I wouldn't call it a satin or cream. I'd call it like a lip blush or soft matte, which is also similar to what Merit has come out with. Again, I haven't used it long enough to really say it's a favorite, but it has that similar feel to it. This is specifically a matte, though. I know that somebody wants to hear about mattes today. This shade is B101, and I've used this a million times on camera, but it's a very basic pink. It has a little brown to it. You see how it just super smooth, really beautiful. And there's a reason I'm not putting it on my lips. I'll get to that. And very comfortable, very long wearing. It honestly, even if you have dry lips, you'll be okay with this one. It's perfect for an everyday look. It's perfect if you're looking for that kind of no makeup look. You don't have to really worry about it. Like, it's not gonna, it's not gonna bleed outside your lips. It's just, it's really excellent. However, the soft doesn't have as much pigment. The Hyper Matte does. If you're looking for something, though, that has more pigment, I have a new product that I cannot say it's one of my favorites because, again, I've just started using it, but I was so impressed by it that I had to show it to you today as part of this top 10. Now, those of you who've watched me for a while, you know I'm not like that. Like, I always take a very long time to say something's a favorite, but I was so shocked by this that I was like, wow, this is ridiculously good. So this is the Valentino, called the Spike Valentino lipstick. This is 134R. And it's a very thin lipstick, but watch it on the lips. And I did that real time because I wanted you to see how smooth it is. I mean, it's so smooth. I have never felt a matte that smooth before. There is a scent to this. It's floral of some kind. I don't know what kind it is, but magnetic closure. Now, it looks very similar, in my opinion, to the Prada, which also looks similar to the Merit. Merit is definitely on that list. But there's something about this Valentino that is moisturizing. Like it's real, I need to find out what's in it. But it really feels like a balm, but with a matte finish. Like I said, I was so impressed that I had to mention it today, even though I can't really say it's one of my top 10 because I just bought it. But okay, next, you know what the last, well, you probably know what the last two are going to be. This is Tom Ford. This is in Dolce, which happens to be my favorite shade. Tom Ford reinvented their lipsticks and their lip liners, and they are absolutely phenomenal. I love these lipsticks and I love the lip liners. The lip liners are revolutionary in my opinion. There's nothing that tops them. The lipsticks, although now probably my second favorite lipstick, they are glossy, they stay on, they're beautiful, I really love them, blah, 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 blah. They do bleed a little bit because they are glossier lips and they're lighter in formula. So I like that, but if you have a lot of lines and you feel like you don't want something that bleeds, the Valentino, the Prada, the Bouche Rouge, the Dries Van Noten, the Hermes, they are all ones I would choose. I would not choose an overly glossy lip because the whole point of something being glossy most of the time means that it's thinner, it has a gloss to it, it's going to start to bleed. So the Tom Fords do as well. Not as much as some of the others, but they do because they have kind of this glossy finish. That is Dolce. If you want something that's glossy and you really like these because the formula is excellent, it lasts a really long time, it's creamy, it's hydrating, it's glossy, it's got a lot of coverage, all those things, but it does bleed a little bit if you do have lines, use the Tom Ford lip liner. I promise you it won't go outside the Tom Ford lip liner. That stuff is amazing. However, like I said, it does have a little bit of a tendency, just because it has so much gloss and it's a lighter formula, it's thinner, you might have some of that. But I will say it is I love it. I love the Tom Ford lipsticks. I think they're phenomenal. An honorable mention before I get to the last lipstick for today, and again, I didn't rank them, but it probably is my favorite, even though it's really expensive. This is the Sarah Creal lipstick, and I just started using this, but I have to tell you guys, this does not move. This does not bleed at all. And this is Mansplaining. I'll show you the shade. It's a great shade. I'm going to pick up more of them. It's a creamy formula. I wouldn't say it's super glossy, but it, it's a cream, and it does not bleed. It does not bleed. You might not, some people have said they don't like the packaging. I think the packaging is kind of cute, but not everybody, has the same taste, obviously. But I do really like this, and I've only been using it for a short time, so again, I can't put this on my favorites list. That would not be honest, but I really like it. I think the formula is excellent, and I'll use it over the course of the next year and see where I'm at the end of next year, but I really feel like it competes with all of the other cream formulas that I have and doesn't bleed. So, I'm very impressed with it, and I did do a video where I showed it to you on my lips, so you can check that out as well. So let's get to the last lipstick. And the last is the Chanel. This is the 31 Le Rouge satin lipsticks, and these are ridiculously priced. They're $195 for the lipstick and the case. I believe they're $95 or $90 for the refill by itself. Yeah, I mean, I really have no, I have no explanation. Well, I have an explanation. The price point, you know, supposedly the case is like Japanese glass and doesn't break. Although I will say I've dropped it several times and it hasn't broken, and it actually looks exactly the same, which I have to say is relatively impressive. It is of course refillable, and you know, you can put the lipsticks in it. But for, you know, $90 to buy a refill seems like a lot. There are limited shades. I think there's 12. I have Rouge Byzantine. I have Rouge, what's the other one? Let's see, I think Rouge Roman. It could be wrong. Or is it Creuser? I'm not absolutely sure. This is Rouge Flou, F-L-O-U. And I really like this shade because I don't have anything else like it. It's almost coral, but it has a brightening effect for my face that I actually really like. And I find it to be like on days when I'm like today where it's literally pouring outside and there's no sun. It's like, it has a brightening effect for my mood as well. So I really love the color. That's the first thing. And again, I don't have anything else like it. But I recognize that $195 is, you know, a very silly amount of money. And is it that much better than other satins that I have? And what I would say is, it is better. It is creamier, it's more opaque, it lasts longer, it doesn't bleed, it feels better on my lips, but not twice as much. In other words, it's not $195. There's lipsticks that I have that are $100. There's lipsticks that I have that are $50 that I think absolutely feel almost as good and look almost as good. And I'd say the Tom Fords are excellent. They are not as opaque and they are not as creamy. They're more glossy. The Dries Van Notens are, I used a sheer today, but their creams, their satins are very similar to this. Again, they're not an inexpensive lipstick either, but you get the point. The Sarah Creal is extremely good from what I've seen so far and has a similar feel to it and doesn't bleed and at a much less price point. Now, again, the packaging is not the same, but you know, you don't necessarily need that. The Bond number 9 has a very similar feel to this, but again, that's an expensive lipstick. So the Merit lipsticks, and I go back to Merit a couple of times because I talked about it. Merit has great sheer, great lip blush, great satins, and great mattes. And I'd say for all these categories, Merit is very close to being like the number one for me when I think of it. These are just a little bit better, not by much. So, you know, I am a luxury channel. I tend to use luxury products. These are all luxury lines. But I'd say the next in line after all of these is probably Merit for almost all of the categories. So that tells you something. And, you know, it was incredibly difficult for me to even get it to this point because there's so many different types of lipsticks that I like, depending on my mood, depending on the day, which is why there was no way for me to rank them. But I will say that this lipstick by Chanel is my favorite lipstick. I really love the formula and I love the case and I love the way it feels. I do agree though that $195 is astronomically high. So if I had to rank my top 3, I'd say it's this one, it's the Tom Ford would be second, and third would be the Bond number 9, believe it or not. I really love that formula. And then for the glossy lips, like I said, it would be Chanel Boy, the Suqqu, and then the Chantecaille. And for mattes, at the moment, it's Prada. Well, if I really were honest, I'd say it's the Valentino, the Prada, and then the Merit. But the Valentino is so new to me, it's hard for me to say, but it's really good. I mean, I was just extremely impressed. So that is where I am, guys. And so I will leave us on that note. I would love to hear your top 10. Again, I need to do more of these. It's so hard to do. I find it, you know, really difficult because there are so many products that I really love, like I said, depending on my mood or depending on my look that I'll use, that I don't necessarily have like a favorite thing. Bronzer, I'm going to do a bronzer video. That's easier for me, interestingly enough, but lipstick stuff. So thanks so much for joining me today, guys. I really do appreciate it. And I hope to see you in another video really soon. Bye.